Welcome to the Unravel podcast, formerly known as the DM podcast, where tonight we go from shit-talking the DM to shit-talking the players, now with even more people. Joining me today, the man who greeted me today with behold Max, the meme lord herself, Charlie, and wait, why am I here? I'm the forever DM. It's Lucas. Welcome to the show, everyone.
I mean, that's why he is here.
Yes.
That just made me very sad.
I'm glad to serve.
You're not the forever DM. Well,
But he
here
is,
you are.
though.
Here.
Here he is.
Aren't we all a forever DM deep down inside?
Well, I'm not a DM to begin with, so not
Actually,
really.
I haven't DM'd the game in a bit, so...
All right, well, never mind then.
I'm still planning to one day.
We are all players, right?
Yes,
Yes.
that we are.
Depends.
Depends.
When he can finally play.
What do you mean depends?
I mean, he does play as a priest most of the time. Or a cleric, like, I mean.
Yeah, I'm
That's
more
the
like a
same thing.
robot that has to be there for healing.
Oh.
You want that, though.
No, you can play the robot. I already told you that.
They won't allow me to play Warforged, even though it's...
Anyway, we've decided to add more versatility into the DM podcast. So I decided to change the name. This is season 2 of the DM podcast, or the Unravel podcast now, because I found it fit better in the Unravel umbrella. And today we will look at players and why do they suck. So, the forever
That's a
DM.
bit controversial.
That's a hot topic right there. No, Lucas, could you tell me what or anyone who wants to chime in? Could you tell me what's a good play according to you?
That's a difficult question.
Okay, let me make it more simple. What's a bad player?
Oh, all of you. No, just kidding.
Well, that's easy.
He's
Obviously,
not.
me.
Everyone.
That's not that difficult.
No, but
Maybe like what are good habits and what are bad habits of players? Maybe that's more simple.
I suppose, yeah.
Why do I have to answer this first?
You don't have to answer this first. Charlie could answer this as well. or Max, if you want to.
Sure.
Wait,
I mean,
how
which
would we
one?
do like a 100 IQ move? So, Rick, what do you think?
What's a
the
good
answer
player?
to
What's a
your
bad
question
player?
is?
Well, a good
Such
player.
big brain.
A good player is one that has fun in the game and is empathetic to other players. So he or she will respect the wishes of the session 0, and will try to interact with the game as much, or well as he wants. We'll try to have as much fun as possible with the group. A bad player takes away from the fun too much, or well, just completely, and just ruins the game entirely. That's pretty easy definition of a bad player. Just one who ruins the game.
So to clarify, a bad player is not somebody who's not good at knowing D&D. Somebody
Not
that doesn't know
necessarily.
every in
Not
and out of
necessarily,
D&D isn't a bad player.
No, exactly.
Not necessarily. That could be a new player.
A new player
Yeah.
isn't a bad player. I don't know any. I don't know
that's
most
the difference
spells.
between D&D and
Mhm.
many other games. Like you're a bad player if you don't like you're a bad chess player if you don't know how to play chess.
Which is why we'd like to define like what we're speaking of. It's like
Yeah.
a veteran could be a shitty player still.
Oh yeah.
Essentially, and a beginner player can be actually really good.
Most bad players or good players are also just either bad people or good people in general. Right? Am I wrong in saying that? Like dickish people
Depends
are
what-
bad players more often.
Depends the flaw, I guess, what really like
Yeah.
makes them bad. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes it just can be. I mean, I guess it sort of reflects on how they are. A little bit, you know.
A bad player could also be one who isn't having fun, so is just not interested in interacting with the game, so just on the background and just looking at their phone, and then, oh wait, it's my turn. Yeah, I'll just hit him. That could also be a bad player. It's not. It's but that's not
everybody
necessarily
does that every
bad.
once in a while.
Well,
right?
yeah, but if it's just constantly and he or she is just there to, I don't know.
Because I know a certain someone who never figured out what spell they wanted to cast, but they're not necessarily a bad player.
Who is this certain someone?
Yes.
I don't know, Rick.
There's a lot of
I mean-
spells.
Well, those
You had what, 11?
I mean, there's a lot
16.
of reasons why a player could take away from the game, and I guess that's what we're going to talk about, right?
Exactly. Well, how can
I know,
a
I
player
think
take
throughout
away
this
or just, well, how can a good player enhance the game? That's probably also an interesting one. But let's just dive right into the bad players, because that's more fun to talk about.
Alright,
More
so who's
experience
the
than
worst
that.
player among us?
Oh, that's a
Everybody's voting.
juicy question.
That's a hot topic that I think we should.
the answer is so obvious to that because obviously it's me.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Is it?
well,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think that there are people that we as a group can unifiably agree on weren't the best people to play with. Though
Well,
I do
yeah.
not necessarily feel the need to really call them out on it.
I don't think
we
you
shouldn't
should
call
do
we shouldn't
that.
we shouldn't call
No.
out people that aren't here.
Yeah.
I think what is fair to say is that each session, or maybe even like chapter, had like some players were better at it than others. You know.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I can honestly.
Everyone shined as a bad player every now and then, and
Yeah.
same with DMs. I mean, you make mistakes.
Yeah, my first DM sessions were terrible. It just well, they were fun, but yeah, I
They're
think
fun but terrible.
they were fun but terrible. My playing style in a fun but terrible. No, but so what is a good player to the, or well, what was a bad player to the DM? Let's just start.
Whew, a bad player to the DM, actively going against what the DM is trying to do for a story. Especially like this happens.
It has
a lot
many
in the early
caveats.
game. I feel like whenever a player DM's like, this is where I'm gonna take the story, and the player's like, nah, fuck you. I think that's a good example of what a bad player can be to a DM in like the early game.
I mean, every game. It could be any game. Like if people are actively, I guess if they do it, you might not go that long in the game. If people actively avoid things you plan out, like step for step. Like you're obviously giving like hints. Like, of course, as DM, you should also not force them to do things, but you know there is
gotta
a fine line.
But you have to.
You know, it'd be nice if you do sort of follow the story that the DM's created, because you know, at the end of the day, that's what you agreed to do. I think that's how I look at it.
Yeah. I think maybe someone that also might go against just the session 0 that you guys agreed to, and then not the session 0 as in what players don't want to see in the game, like uncomfortable topics or something, but more like if the player didn't want to play in your game and does anyway and doesn't say anything about it, and then just isn't as involved in the game, or doesn't really want to play in the game. That could also
So
be.
you mean if a DM is like, this is my world, and the player goes like, oh, that's great, and then secretly goes like, oh, that fucking sucks, but I guess I'll play in that game anyways because it's the only game I'm gonna play in, and then eventually because he's not interested in it, becomes a dick in that game. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'd say that's
It sounds like a terrible player.
reflect on what they're doing with.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you like actively start playing in a way where you're like disrupting the game, like becoming a murder hobo, instead of working together, actively like being hostile towards the party. I'd say players that are being hostile toward each other, like stealing from other players or trying to even attack them, is also not just for DM. I assume other
is the
players.
best thing.
Yeah, PvP is very bad between your party. I think that's probably one of the worst in-game things you can do.
Or, the hostility just in the role playing. Like, you're gonna be a terrible character all around. Like, you're actively being racist against races in your party or something. You're not like hostile in you attack them, but you're like verbally abusive to them just because most times people play that kind of characters, they do it because they want to fuck with the people who's playing the other characters. That's a bad player.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's also a bad player towards other players, so
Yeah.
it answers my second question.
I mean, there's a lot in that department of what you can do to be bad, and some are worse than others.
So, yeah, what do you think, or what do you feel that you shouldn't do when role playing? As a player,
Oh, as a player, you mean towards other players?
or well, in
Um,
general.
I know.
I think in general, I guess.
I know what you shouldn't. Well, you shouldn't be a dick. That's that's easy to say, but it's so. Don't be
Maybe-
selfish. If it turns out that your group really wants to go a certain direction, just go with it. Like, it's okay to argue, but if people are like, oh, we want to pursue this quest, and then you're the only one that wants to pursue the other quest, just deal with it. Don't make it a whole thing, or even start like either like you don't start sabotaging your own group. Be like, okay, but we'll do my thing afterwards, right? And then because I can feel if a certain player's like, yeah, I really want to do that, but everybody else, you kind of have to be flexible in what you're okay with doing.
Yeah.
It's a team game after all, and if you can't make compromises with your team, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, that's how a team would work in real life as well. You have to make compromises sometimes, even if you don't want to do something. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it just pans out that way. What did Charlie? What do you think? What?
I personally think it's an important point to make is everyone can be a bad player, but being consistently a bad player is is the problem. So like everyone once in a while can like have their off days and be a bit more dickish than normal, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're gonna be a dick every session, then it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Sometimes it does bring with it some caveat that the players, well, like for example, if you're stealing the moment, I was talking about this with Max the other day, or well, yesterday, that if people are having a conversation that is between two characters, then if context allows, it could be fun if your character walks in and does something funny, but not if there's a serious conversation going on and the context doesn't allow for that, or it just happens too often and you just want to steal every moment and just make your character the well, yeah, the primary character, the what do you call it? What do we call that?
Protagonist.
Main character, the protagonist. Yeah.
Protagonist syndrome, what's like that?
Yeah, it is a team game indeed, and not always the spotlight can be on you.
Oh yeah.
But it's fine to make those mistakes once or twice. Maybe more if you're playing for a very long time, but you can do it consistently.
I mean, it can even come from not. It doesn't even need to be in like bad spirit. Like the player can be for instance, you have maybe a very charismatic player, and their stats are very charismatic, and they're very good at persuasion, all that stuff, and they sort of like fit in the role to do certain talks with maybe a lord or a quest giver or a shopkeeper or whatever it has to do with the quest. It's also like allow other players to sometimes have that conversation. Don't always like jump into it or immediately be
But
the
my
loudest.
charisma is the highest, so I should always do role-playing encounters.
Yeah, unless the entire party would like actively say like, yeah, you should do that.
Yeah.
Maybe give room to let our players do it, and sometimes maybe even push other players to do it. If you notice that you are that person, because it's hard to say they're bad players, because again, they're really engaged in their role playing, but they're taking away from others without maybe knowing or
Yes,
being aware of it.
Sometimes you just jump into roleplay all too often, and it just looks like you're stealing the spotlight when you don't really want to do that. That could also be the case. The most important thing is just to communicate with each other.
In and outside the game.
Both,
Yeah.
yes.
Both is
No,
both is very important. Keep things going.
There are some things that are a little bit inexcusable, like talking about uncomfortable topics in game, which you already decided that you didn't want to talk about. That I don't feel like there's ever maybe you bring it up and you didn't know that could be the case, but especially if you know that you shouldn't bring it up, then I don't know. That feels a little more inexcusable than stealing the spotlight.
I find it difficult to imagine because I don't recall it ever happening in a game I played in or have DM'd for.
You mean where players takes the spotlight?
No. With Rick's talking about being like actively having like spoken like a session 0 rules, and then them breaking it.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
usually,
no, I either.
like I'm pretty lenient, so the things you have to do are like pretty fucked up. So I don't know, like I wouldn't know. Like I think we all agreed, like we've once already spoke about it. We're like we'll probably just throw them out. I don't know, like how do you deal with that?
How would you deal with that?
We came to the conclusion, I think, once before in the damn podcast, we just throw them out.
Yeah.
Because it's.
Oh yeah, wait. No, there was one guy who was in the chat who was talking about how someone assaulted someone or something. Was it something like that, right?
Yeah, that's just weird. That's just really weird.
Yeah, you should.
Just antagonizing other players or the DM. That's just a big no-no.
No.
I mean, other things that are really annoying. I mean, for instance, the guy who doesn't know their shit. You know, they come in the game. They have, and this can be a newbie, but imagine you're not a newbie. Imagine you've played for 30 sessions and you're still
80 sessions.
Imagine playing a full year and still not knowing your character.
and still actively
Imagine playing
asking.
for 85 sessions, same character, and you still don't know what an uncanny dodge is.
Yeah, there is a point
Thanks.
where that can be pretty frustrating.
With the
you don't just want to say like that's just plain out annoying. Like, how do you deal with that? Because
well,
like I once did it by making like a timer, but that feels a little weird. Also,
oh yeah, you did do the timer for, but that didn't really work.
Wait, a timer?
Yeah.
yeah.
I do not remember this timer.
You don't? It was in it
Nope.
was in our game, right?
Yeah.
I have not played
Okay,
that game, so
that means
explain
that
it to me.
That means that I don't have this problem.
I mean, you weren't the reason.
Alright, great. No, yeah, I was like, I was not the reason probably because I don't remember that happening at all.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just especially in combat, like waiting for turns is pretty boring.
Yeah.
And that's not just for the DM, that's for every player. on the table. They don't like that. And I do remember getting that complaint from from the other players. Like,
Wait, was Rick the problem?
I mean, yeah, I mean, Rick was you were a spellcaster, and you were taking a long time to pick your spells.
Well, the problem was, well, yeah, of course, it was also me. But the problem was also that sometimes the players didn't didn't really pay attention because it was the game that had 7 players in it. So if we had a full room, then sometimes
I mean, it was way too clustered. And
oh yeah, and sometimes people were talking and they didn't realize that a turn was going on. Like, oh wait, it was my oh fuck, and then they needed to think out a turn. With spellcasters, what I think is the problem, just like with me, it's just thinking my turn ahead, and then it just always happens that the turn before my turn begins, it just fucks up my plan. And it's just like, fuck, I need to think of something completely new now.
It's funny because I play my cleric character. It's the only character I ever play. And I don't have that issue at all whenever I play. Like I timed it once. I was like, okay, how long do I actually have to? Because I was like, I don't have to wait that long, right? And everybody else's turn. So I kind of I put on a stopwatch. I was like, okay, how long does this take? And it took about 20 minutes to get through everybody's turn. I was like, okay, that's fair. And then I got to my turn. I was like, okay, I'm gonna time my own turn. And I was like, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And about 50 seconds passed, and I was done. I feel like I'm always very quick with knowing what I do, and I never run into the problem like, oh, now I can't do the thing that I do, because I can very easily come up with a new thing to do.
I mean, I
Was
don't
it in
have.
the older game?
Yeah, that was the first.
No,
game.
this is like in the current game that I play with you.
20 minutes?
I think so. I think it was in the it was the fight before last, so not the Bulgara, but before that one, I think.
For an entire cycle. I
mean,
feel like that's
what's that? No,
It would have been a Frostagon fight.
that didn't
no,
take...
there's no way that took that long because there
No.
was only one enemy.
Like it took
Maybe-
a hot second for everything to pass. Well, like mostly it isn't you either, because I think you and I are tactically set in a way that we figure out what we want to do rather quickly. Like the enemy's turns don't take that long, but players' turns can take a while. I feel like that's the main problem. I don't feel it on the enemy side, not from a player's perspective as well as not from a DM's perspective, that enemies take too long, unless that one, except for that one fight that had the monks in it. We made way too many attacks.
Oh, that one, yeah. Yeah, that's
that.
just an
My
action
first
economy
fight.
thing.
Yeah, your first fight. That was.
It was my first
Mhm.
fight in the campaign.
Oh,
Attacks.
that.
Don't do like 8 monks. It's bad
yeah.
business, because it's 8 monks. They all have 3 attacks. I mean, you got 24 attacks before you get to the next, and they missed most of their attacks. It's not worth it.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. That's what I noticed with sometimes when I bring in even minions that I've made really have weak attacks, whilst they don't really matter. So you're rolling the attacks, and you just in your head you're just thinking, "Wow, this is useless." What am I doing?
Why am I rolling? I don't hit anything.
I'm not doing anything. I might as well just skip through these fuckers at this point.
Just roll 1d20. Oh, they miss.
But yeah, I mean, turns that take long can be annoying. The player, especially that doesn't know, or the player who asks, "What should I do?" You know, the
Yeah, that
even to the DM sometimes, where they genuinely ask, like, you know, you're like in a role play moment, and you're like, "What should I say?" It's like, it's small, but it's kind of annoying because, like, well, I don't know what you should say. And then to counter that, you also have the players who know very well what they should say, and they always say, "Well, that's what my character would say," even if it splits the party, if it actively insults someone, or if it counters or goes against anything that the party would do. That's also annoying. So it's always annoying. Don't roleplay. That's
Just
very
don't
good
roleplay. Just murder hobo everything. Just
Well, in
kill
some
everything.
instances, it can be forgiven though. Like new players who obviously don't know that well. But once you play for a set period of time, you should at least know what you want to do and what you can do.
That's the
Yeah.
reason, like, most people advise not to start out playing heavy spellcasters.
Oh yeah, that's not
Because it's too
advisable.
complicated.
I wouldn't
But
also.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't say that. No, that new players shouldn't play spellcaster, or well, they can play spellcaster, but probably more like artificer, paladin, something with less spell.
Start at level 1. If build up, make sure to read your spells properly, and like have a set. Like even if you are like and this is the thing, for instance, with druid or a cleric who can like have all the spells are to your disposal.
Yeah,
Make
those are
still
the
like a
difficult.
main spell list
Yeah.
where you know these spells and you're comfortable with these spells, and then sometimes you read through your spell list and like, oh, that's a fun one. I'm prepared and I try it out. So that's still a smart way of going when you do that.
Yeah, I've not actually drop all these spells in the spell list and just prepare.
Yeah, that's a reason why
It takes
you're
so
looking
long.
at your spell list and you're like, wow, that's a lot of options. I don't know what half of it does. And then you start reading through it and everyone's like, so you don't do that.
I don't
Prefer.
do that. I don't read through the
No.
spells.
Well,
I know what the spells do. It's just
it happens.
I mean,
So
sometimes.
you're like flipping through your PHB.
Well,
It happens.
that was before.
Like, I'm not
Back
gonna
in the
lie.
day, that did happen. Where
That did
where you
happen,
had the
yeah.
book, and you like were. That was like in the earlier days where first of all we had a party of 7. I mean that was a cluster of fucking DG general and took way too long combat.
So, well, most of the time I just catapult ice knife. Didn't even really. But
And then they
yeah,
always
That's
succeeded.
the worst. When somebody's like, hold up, that's the worst. When somebody's like completely like, oh, I don't know what to do. This spell, what are you gonna do? Ah, fine, I'll cast Eldritch Blast again. It's like, did you even have spell slots, Warlock? Sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
when players who don't even have spells make their turn take long. That's when it really gets to the point of like, what are you doing?
If a fighter or a barbarian doesn't know what to do, just whack him. That's all you have to do. That's all you do.
well, sometimes you
Yeah.
want to whack him in a
But
different way.
to counter that, what is also not fun is and I'm guilty of this one, is telling people what to do.
Sometimes I like
The
that.
metagaming.
You
Some-
do that?
so-
As a
Hell
player
yeah,
or as
I
a
do that
DM?
sometimes.
Yeah.
He does it as a player.
As a player, I definitely do that.
Well, yeah, you did it with Locke because she sometimes like forgot stuff. You're like, she knew, can you dodge that? Or like, you have
Oh no,
evasion.
no.
Like, do that.
He DMs me sometimes with use this spell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, I have that. Thanks.
Well, I did that
That's
once.
because
You did that
yeah,
once.
that's because Max is a lot more tactically set than most of the players at the table.
Oh, no,
I've lessened it, but I feel also like that deep down inside it boils when I do not say it. I just look at it. I'm like, so salty.
sometimes I just sometimes I don't. I do think about the problem. The problem is I do when I look at that map, I'm just like, okay, I could go there and then do this, and wait, no, that's a bad idea. And I'd go through 7, 8 of those scenarios, and then finally have found something, and then completely missed what is the best option, which is just cast another spell. So I don't personally, I don't mind getting told like, you have this spell as well. Oh yeah, wait, yeah. Oh, that's better. Yeah, yeah, I'll do that.
There's people who do mind that, and then there's also DMs who don't like that, and then it's metagaming. It's that also arguably is a little.
During combat, I feel like metagaming is sometimes, it depends. I don't mind metagaming.
Honestly, I was also guilty with that with Locket.
I mean,
That's sad.
everyone said after a while, everyone said to Locket just like,
I feel like everyone at
You
some
have
point
uncanny
started
dodge.
saying that because it just there was a lot of things that were being forgotten, like abilities. But there is a point where you can say like when somebody moves or someone when she has like set an action, and then you start saying, "But you should do this. This is better." That's bad.
Yeah. You start to take player agency away, even as a player. That's bad.
Yeah.
It can happen with roleplay as well. Like sometimes it's okay if it turn. Like I remember when I didn't in the swamps where two people didn't want to go to the lights, two people did want to go to the lights, and we were talking about it for an hour or something like that. I'm not
For a long time.
for a long time, and I was just like, suggestion, we'll go. But that had
Well, that also
consequences.
goes in the idea of like people that even if you're strong-minded yourself, be able to compromise, like compromise with your party so she can make choices.
But
Oh yeah,
that one was a 50-50 split.
yeah.
Well,
The thing
alright,
was,
then I don't know.
I think
Two
what made
players wanted to go and two didn't.
I think what made the suggestion work is because it had consequences, which I accepted. If I had been like, oh, you didn't know that, then it would have been bad.
But that's because I snitched on you.
That's true.
I did actively say snitch on me, like I did. I think I did. I said to you, please do snitch on me. I want you to
The
snitch.
conversation went like this. Did he know I used magic on him? No, you didn't. Well, I can still tell him you did. And he was like, yeah, do that. So I did.
Yeah.
But we've said many things about like bad players and how to recognize bad players and what bad players do, right? But most of it boils down to don't be a dick.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
what makes like you have bad players and you have very good players, but there's a whole lot of people in between. How do those people in between that are just pretty okay players? How can they become like accelerated like good players like above average? What is it? What is a sign that tells you like oh this player is a better like somebody is more invested more um this is a better player than the other one like how
Well, there's
how do
only
you
one
what's those
answer.
traits?
Be like Travis Willing.
Wow.
Well, just we have just try to murder everything, steal the spotlight every time, be edgy as fuck, and not interact with it. Oh wait, you said good player.
Well, I personally think a good player is someone who genuinely likes to play every time. Because that's the most important thing and part why you're playing. You want to enjoy yourself. And also, within the party, you're a good player if you like your other players because you enjoy it more. If you go join a party and you don't like any of the other players, but it's like the only party you could join, you're not going to be a good player because you're not going to have a good time. Most importantly is just you need to enjoy yourself to the fullest, and that way you can play the game best way.
But that's not that is in no way depending on the player. The player cannot decide that they like a game that they don't like. They can't be like, okay, now I'm gonna choose to like this game because that's when I'm gonna enjoy myself better. That's up to the DM. The DM has to make sure that in some way, at least, everybody at one point enjoys the game.
Well,
I don't think
say-
that's part of the player's job to like the game.
I'd say the part of the player is letting the DM and other players know when they are indeed not having fun.
Yeah.
So that can be like pooled to it or adjusted in such a way that it can be enjoyed by everyone. I think you should be active during the game. I mean, you've agreed to be there to have fun. It's stupid to say like have fun. You must have fun, but at the end of the day, it's not like anyone is forcing you to be there. So you kind of like try to at least have fun if you want to do it.
If you want to do it, just if you're not having fun,
be honest.
Yeah, be honest. Just you're all adults. All
Well,
We
maybe
try to
maybe.
be.
they don't have to.
They don't have to
Legally,
be.
I am.
If well, you're all like-minded in say it.
Sorry.
Well, the like
You-
it's
you
it
can
happened
talk
to
it out.
me. It happened to me in Unravel before that people kept playing because they didn't want to leave, even though they no longer enjoyed the game. Even the like that eventually leads that people stick around for way too long, eventually disliking the game and everything about it. Well, I've also had someone that was like that recognized that they didn't like it anymore and just quit. And the parting ways with that player was much better than with any of the other ones that just were like, I don't enjoy it anymore. Bye. Um, I think like being transparent with your DM is very important, but that's also from a DM's perspective.
Mhm. Well, what I read a lot is people who join a game because they really want to play D&D, but they have no one near them and they find the game, but when they start they discover this is not for me, but because it's the only thing they could join, they just join it anyways. That's also just bad. That's what you said, but then you start having fun and then you dislike it instead of and this is more I started this because it was my only option, which is also not really good.
But besides that, like saying that you need to have fun, you also need to recognize that others are here to have fun.
Yeah.
No,
So-
I'm the only one that's here to have fun.
Like,
If the only way you can have fun is by antagonizing other players, then you don't deserve to have fun.
yeah, well, then it's probably not a good idea to.
then
to
play a
be
single
there.
player game.
Don't join
Yeah.
a team player game if that's the way
Just
you
play a
want to
video
play.
game and like antagonize NPCs or something, but
Yeah.
don't antagonize your fellow players, or for that matter, the NPCs that the
Yeah, or-
DM has set in the game that are not supposed to be antagonized, aka being a murder hobo. Because the DM is also there to have fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think some
You know,
players
it's sometimes difficult to see, but you know,
some players forget that the DM is all there to have fun.
You have to add to the collective fun.
Yeah.
Don't take away from it.
But I feel like we're not answering. Well, we're moving around the point where we're saying what you should be, but how should you? So I think that was the original question. How do you achieve that everyone has?
That's a
communication.
DM problem.
Well, not
No.
necessarily.
Sorry.
I don't mean that you should.
Partially.
Well, you asked if you want what makes a good player, and came to the player is there to add to the collective. So everyone is there to make it, not only the DM.
Yeah.
You know, act like engage conversations.
Oh.
Know when not to engage conversations when other people are in conversation. And if you do, you know, have a good reason or make sure that the conversation is fun and not going to resolve around you. Yeah. I mean,
accepting when you made them.
yeah. I mean, that's part of communication, I guess.
Yeah, but that is an important part of communication. Accepting when you
Acknowledge
made
mistakes if they're being
acknowledge
brought
mistakes.
to you.
So, what should a player? Well, we've talked about, it, but since we're going into a new game, I think it's fun to talk a little bit about what should a player prepare for. Lucas.
Oh, so are you trying to like get answers for the,
No.
for the stream now?
So
or-
sneaky.
No, I just think
Sneaky.
I just
So
think
sneaky.
I don't
It's a
know. I
relevant
can tell you what
topic.
I prepare for for if I'm going to go into a game.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Go
I
ahead.
prepare nearly every session that I go into. For me, I have a small list. I have a small list of things I want to do. That is divided up in personal things, practical things, and shopping. Shopping, it's just my shopping list, stuff that I want to buy. Practical things are interactions I want to have with PCs or NPCs to achieve a practical goal. Meaning asking NPCs about information or asking a player what they want to do next. Like I write that down. And personal is a list of things that I write down whenever I come up with them. Of conversations that I can start with other PCs to strengthen the bond. If there's a topic that I'm like, oh, I should talk about to them about this, even though right now might not be the right moment for that, I write it down so that when it comes or when I find a moment, I start talking to that PC just to create the bond. I do that now specifically with the game that I've been playing, where Max is DMing, because because we're all still so new. I don't know how that's going to develop once that game has been running for a long time. The game that I've played in for the longest, with the most session, had 13 sessions.
We're approaching
Two of which
that.
I wasn't there. So like I haven't really gotten to that point yet, like we did in Unravel, where we got to like 80 episodes. I don't know what it's like the moment you're there, and if you still have that. But until now, I've been going pretty strong, like filling out that list and just preparing it every session again before heading into it. That's what
Well,
I do.
that's
And
different than how I do it.
and I made the group where I was like, here's the plan for the next fucking combat battle. It's this and it's this and it's this and it's this. And
Shit, I still
I
need
had
to
a
read.
yeah.
Well, I mostly take the approach of I try to think like my character before I go in a game. Like I've played in 2 campaigns. One I was a pretty decent knowing character, so I took notes of what happened because I knew my character would remember, so I had to remember.
No,
And
Venture.
yes, Ventra remembered so much shit. No, everything he remembered, there was something I actually remembered happening.
That's why I
Like
didn't remember anything.
I never took notes for Ventra because he would not know it, and he would forget if I would forget. Come on, I have to play someone who was dumber than me. And I also had to play someone who was smarter than me, so I had to take notes of shit.
Hmm.
So I take the approach of how does my character know shit? Will my character know shit? And that's how I prepare for a game. So if you're gonna play a character that's gonna remember shit, you have to take notes because no way in hell are you gonna remember everything that happened. Even though Lockett did a pretty good summary of what happened until that point.
That took way too long.
I mean,
Yeah,
you could just
it took way too long, but she did it. It was pretty good.
have a keen mind and annoy your DM with everything.
Yeah, but yeah, you have to take note for yourself what's important for you to do in a game, and that's how you prepare for it. Like for me, it's important to do like my character in a game, so I prepare like how my character would know it. My smart characters, I take notes. My dumb characters, no notes are gonna be taken, people. If I forget it, I forget it.
Well, I feel like what Lucas said, to add on to that, because you just said like individual preparation for each session, right?
Yeah.
But
That's what I personally do.
I know. But what you also do, what I really like, what I think is a really good, observation as a DM, is the way you make the pinpoints in your backstory. So you have short-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals, and you're pretty clear about those goals and how your character sort of sees priority and what they mean to them. Sort of like it's like a bulletin point. If you read the backstory, you would roughly also know these things. But if you can't be bothered,
You mean my backstory, or are you telling them to?
No. Well, your backstory, like the bulletin points, is just really useful because it I know as a DM what can I use to infinitely annoy you or get your interest in a certain whatever it is, you know, if I want to motivate you to do something.
That's all. Sure, that's what we'll call it.
That's always useful as DM. It's very useful to know. How can you?
Is really
What can you do to your players to get their attention? Because at the end of the day, that's how you get them to do your main story. Just
So you
antagonize
mean so basically the way that I structure my backstories is something you appreciate.
yeah, I mean just the very clear and quick way of letting you know this is what
Also
my
because
character wants to do.
I also make the story, and then I give like most of the time I give like a separate like bullet point thing, right? Or I did
Yeah.
that with the dwarf at least. Whereas like I had an extra page that was
You
just
did that with
stating my
every
goals.
character so
Oh, great.
far. Not everyone does that, and I think it's a very useful way for yourself and for the DM, because then, you can really, of course, things are still a little for interpretation, but it's pretty clear at that point what you want to achieve. So I think that's a good way of preparing, like, just your character in general.
Yeah.
And also, when you make your backstory, prepare a little bit of the whatever background the DM has given into that backstory is also a good one.
how do you?
Because well, otherwise your DM is gonna do it for you. But usually people just write their backstories without really considering the world they're in. Well, I say usually.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that. I think you might be doing that. Well, depending on what you mean. I think it's important to make clear to your DM in your backstory what, in a gameplay sense, you want to get achieved. You can write a very nice book that does not explain what your character wants to do. Making clear to your DM what your character wants to do is very nice. I think that's kind of what you mean, unless I'm totally off.
I mean, well, yeah, you can do that with the list, but I mean also intertwining whatever you already know about the world in your backstory. So making it fit in. Sure. I'd say as DM you should give your players enough creative liberty where they can still obviously create their own NPCs, their own maybe groups or whatever they're in. But if there's a certain city, if there's a certain place that would fit in that location, make sure that you maybe look at that or ask your DM that. Instead of just giving them a novel. In general, I would say avoid a novel because that's...
Didn't read LOL. Sorry,
Yeah,
the backstory is bad.
Can be really annoying because a lot
I'm not
of it
gonna
is
read
not
25
usable.
pages, thanks.
It's also because it's very hard to digest as a DM.
Yeah.
And that's why you have the pinpoint list. Why I like that so much, because that's so easy to just look at and be like, that's what he wants.
Yeah, if you have to read the entire story, like the 8-page backstory, and that where as a DM you have to go through it and be like, okay, so what if this is important? What does he want to do?
That's the thing. Like, if you have to be the one to pinpoint things, that's first of all, like, is a lot of it's to interpretation at that point. Like, you don't know if the player. I have had the problem where I bring something up to someone that was clearly important in the backstory, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" Because they didn't know themselves. They had no idea that was in their backstory. They wrote it, but apparently they never wrote it down anywhere else, and they're not reading their own backstory after they've wrote it. So they forgot. They completely forgot, and that's why I think that's important to do, and why to, keep it a little shorter than. You can get away, but you sometimes forget yourself if you add too much.
Yeah, I feel like intertwining is I always want to intertwine. I like hearing about the world first before I start thinking about the character, because I think that was with Unravel as well. I heard about being things with changelings, and I like, okay, now I know what my race is gonna. I like I like that they're being hunted there and they're going there. I knew that they were going there, so I was okay. That can be fun. Like that can be something. I am. I do have the problem of writing too much.
Sometimes.
Ooh, I know that problem.
Well, sometimes, not always. With my new character, I have written too.
Yeah, you took the other side of the
Yeah.
the coin. You just-
Describe in 20 words or less what your character wants to achieve. Well, fuck me then.
Because I asked that for all the new characters because I knew that for some people coming up with more than 20 words for 3 possible characters is a lot. So I wanted to.
Yeah,
that's
no,
not backstory. That's just general.
I'm just of the fault that I just decide on the character's backstory and just write everything, and just afterwards I'm just reading it through. I'm just like, this is not important at all. I had that with Ithral's backstory. I wrote everything, and it was just like, this is not important at all. Why did I write this? I think I said it to you as well. I just like, you don't need to read all of it. Just the last part. That's important.
Yeah, I did ask from you because it was a long story. Like, can you like make a list of all the important people in this?
I did. I had a list of all the important.
So
people.
we did. You did have that. So it was more easy to digest from that point.
And I did remember. Like the character till it died.
She died. Not it. Jeez.
No. Yeah, until she died. But
Oh well.
yeah,
You're fucking welcome.
Death, am I right? It's a thing. It happens in D&D.
I mean,
Get
game.
used to it.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Remember, it's just a game. Like because there are a couple of problematic players. Like we've got a couple here, like the hobos, lone wolf, the
I
inattentive
thought
player.
you have a couple here on this Discord call.
No,
Oh,
I'll
dude.
Then we
on my
have,
list that I have here.
me...
The inappropriate player, which is also that guy, that guy.
Oh, that guy.
We've talked a little bit about it, like what to do with those players. As in how to deal with the players. Like we've talked about the inappropriate player. They're too inappropriate constantly, or well, if they're too inappropriate, then kick them out. But how would you deal with the rest? Maybe first answer as how would you deal with them as a player? Maybe then as a DM.
Wait, I mean, why would I have to deal with all the other players?
Well,
Yeah.
if you see someone with those characters, just like see someone acting like an edgy low. Do you deal with that as a player, or do you just bring it up to the DM and hope he does?
I feel like you bring it up. Like the best you can do as player is just say the general, like, just get out of play and be like, well, it's a team game, maybe don't do that. Or try to role play them to not do it. There's another option you could try. But those are the only options as players you would have
So yeah,
on the table.
So let's just bring it like that. How do you deal with these players?
You kill them.
No, if a player has a problem that
just
can
eat
be
them.
fixed, like especially if they're acting like a wang towards other players, I normally go to the other player and I'm like, they're a dick, right? And then if the other player goes like, no, then it's my problem. And if the other player goes like, yeah, I go, did you tell them that? They go, no, do that. Okay. And then eventually, most of the time, it actually gets fixed, or at least some solution is come up with.
If it not gets fixed, kill them.
No.
Maybe that's the wrong message. With kill them, I mean, like, throw them out of game. I don't think that should be your first go-to option to fix your problems, because then you might run out of players real quick. But
Yeah, you don't want to.
But it'd be funny though.
It'd be funny though. No,
Nah,
if
you
they're
would run out
being,
of players.
I mean, if they're
Thing is
being
always-
actively problematic and they never stop being problematic, even though you've already like said it like 3 times, you know, maybe then
If
you
you
should
address it
start
twice already, the third time they're just out.
Yeah, give them.
Especially if it's the same problem over and over again.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
Give
you're
them-
always taking all the loot. Please stop doing that. And they do it again. Like, you took all the loot again. It's not fun. And sorry. And then did it again. It's like, okay, you don't know what we're talking about. Get out. We don't need that.
I mean,
Leave! Be gone! Stop!
you had to say it. You had to say it.
I'm just gonna let that hang.
Why did nobody like pick up after that? What the fuck, guys?
Because
Team
you had
effort, damn it.
you had to sit there and realize what you've done.
You had to realize your mistake.
Can we do that with bad players? Like if they do something dickish, just everybody be quiet and just look at
Just be quiet and just stare at them.
I mean, the problem is with a lot of problematic players is I
sometimes
feel like they don't know
Yeah.
it. Like they can read the room. A lot of people can read the room. They can read when something is not good, when something is clearly off, right? But some people can do that, I guess.
Well, there's one thing, if you don't know you're being problematic because no one taught you, well, can fault you for that if you can't read the room and no one tells you because you don't know. But if someone tells you and you're still just being a problematic player, they are just doing it to, for your own fun and take from the collective fun.
In the reverse, a good example of that is Vera Lockett. She can't read the room. She feels like there's a problem. She doesn't know what it is, and when it gets pointed out to her, she's like, "Fuck, that's it." But she can't read the room herself and find out the problem. She's not that's like when she has a problem with someone else. This is what happened. Like everybody saw the conflict that was happening between Cyrus and Lockett. She didn't see it as a problem until I went to her like, "Don't you think that's a problem?" She's like, well, yeah, kind of actually it is. I'm like, should we do something about it? She's like, yeah, sure. And then we did something about it for a while. Until he left, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so-
like a problem becomes more clear of a problem when it gets pointed out to someone. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because
So a
It
problematic player.
becomes not that it wasn't a problem before, and when you point it out, then suddenly it's a problem. More of like there's something wrong. They don't know how to handle it. And the moment the problem is clear, they know what to do. They know what to do about it, and you know what to do about it.
yeah,
It can be worked on once it's clear what the problem is.
You
But
should
that
also.
but that makes a problematic player being not wanting to fix it,
Yeah.
because
Well,
then it's malicious.
it also depends if you bring it up. You need to bring it up clearly. Like, don't beat around the bush. That just say this is going wrong. We should do something about it. Because if you try to beat around the bush, try to sort of not say that they have a problem, and then try to imply that they have a problem. Some people don't. If they don't see that they have a problem, then they won't know after being told like. So you need to state it clearly. Not in a dick way, of course, but you need to state it clearly. Just like
You have to state it clearly, like this is a problem, rather than allude to it being a problem.
yes.
Because then you kind of pointing it out, like trying to point it out, like under the table, could make it worse.
That could make it worse, and it also could be like if you kick them out after doing that twice or times, and you kick them out after that, and they don't know that they've done anything wrong, so they're just like, what the fuck? Well, why was I just kicked out? I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
even though they had a problem, but they didn't know. So communicate. Communication isn't hard, but you need to do it.
Communication is key.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just sums it up pretty. Communicate with.
It's
Very
more
important.
difficult than it sounds, though.
Yes.
It is a lot more difficult. I mean, a good way that you could approach problematic things is, if the player isn't all trouble, but they have this one quirk or this thing they keep doing, what helps, I suppose, is saying the things they do good before you say the things they do bad.
Oh yeah,
not-
layer your
Yeah.
criticism.
Yeah,
That's
because if
really
you only
important.
criticize them, that's gonna be shitty. Like, there's no way around it. Like, that's gonna just make them feel bad all the way around. If you just criticize things.
Okay,
This counts for both players and DMs,
Yeah.
by
If
the
you
way.
only
Yes.
keep pointing out flaws, it's
Yeah.
bad for morale.
let's
Yeah.
just have a quick lesson in communication for the people who don't know. You need to layer your criticisms. Like, first bring up something good. Like, well, let's just do it right here. Well, Max, I think that point you brought up was really good. What would make it even better if you would give an explanation of how you would layer criticism. But other than that, it's great. That's
Well,
good
nerd.
criticism. As in you first compliment them, then you can tell them how they can make it even better instead of saying it's wrong, and then you compliment them again because you did do something right.
A good thing to take away from the example is the compliment and the thing are in the same context.
Yeah.
You don't tell them,
yeah.
"You have beautiful eyes, so you're a shit player." And
No, that works. That totally works.
Damn boy,
No, that's
your body hot.
that's really weird. That's really confusing. That's not a good way to bring up the problem.
Oh my.
Well, that's also because you use a very weird way of saying it. You can go like, you could go like, "Yo, I really like how you roleplay your character, but the way you do it in combat just fucking sucks, bro. Like, you gotta, okay, maybe not swear, maybe be like, I really like how you roleplay, but your combat, when you're playing in combat, I think it could be improved. Like, if you really like taking account what other people think, don't fireball them every single fucking turn. That'd be great.
That's great.
You said fucking again, but
But
I mean,
yeah.
darn.
Ah, gosh darn it.
But that again is like that's still, you keep it within the game. You don't make a random compliment that has nothing to do with it.
You know, the random compliment made your analogy a little worse. You're like, you got beautiful eyes, but fuck you. I was like,
just like after a game. Damn that ass. Your roleplay sucks though, but that ass be beautiful fine. I didn't walk away.
Also, very important is self-reflection. If you don't see the problem with just staring someone down, you might be the problem.
Yeah, if everyone else is the problem, maybe
Then
you're
maybe
the
it's
problem.
you.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the problem, but that's the difference. That's weird to realize, but you do need to realize when you are the problem.
Yeah, that's self-reflection, guys. It's important.
I am never the problem. What are you talking about?
There's a prime example of someone who might be the problem.
That's a beautiful way to say it.
I just love that random compliment. I can just visualize it just after a game. It's just brilliant.
Did you get a haircut, bro? That's a fire haircut.
I did.
New
By the way-
connection after games. Compliment
thanks
each other and then tear each other down.
Thanks for noticing. Yeah, I really like it.
You know what isn't fire?
You know what-
The way you roleplay.
What?
You know what I think is fun, that I heard, I think Davy Chappie does this, and it's something that I actually kind of enjoy. It's the party after a session, their party decides who gets. Everybody gets like an inspiration every game, so a reroll of d20 simply. But everybody after a game decides on who gets the inspiration for next game. Due to something they did in the past game. It's like, oh, you really pulled that cool move off in combat, so I think you should get the inspiration now. And the next time it could be like, oh, that person had a real like in-depth roleplay thing. I'm gonna give you the inspiration this time. That can like reward people to play the game in such a way that the others enjoy it, because then they might give you that inspiration for next game. I really like that idea.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah,
That's
that's
not
a
a bad
really
idea.
that's a really good one.
Because that's not only team building for your for your characters, but also for your players.
You know,
So
it'd be
are
more
you gonna
spicy.
start
Oh.
giving inspiration?
Taking away inspiration. Like, damn, bro, that role play that just fucking terrible. That went fell flat.
I mean, we can min-max that.
immediately.
We can just be like, who has the most benefit the next session of that? It's like, that guy didn't do anything, but he's cool.
I mean, even if you do that, the players are deciding on something together outside of the game. They're deciding. I think that's still a good thing, even if they decide to use it for something like that.
Don't do it like that. I mean, you know, it'd be spicy though. What if you do it the opposite way? What if you give disadvantage to one person?
Oh no! Even spicier. Give 3, or just depending on how many players. Let's say you have 4 players. 3 people get advantage and 1 player gets disadvantage next game.
No, that's bad.
It's bad.
That's spicy.
Have you ever heard of positive reinforcement? Jesus.
Negative
I really hope you
reinforcement
never have
actually works
children.
really well with. It only works well when you don't give them freedom of choice,
Well,
but it's free.
the thing
That doesn't
is,
matter.
if you start using negative reinforcement, people might just gonna might think
Might just leave.
I'm gonna get it anyways. I'm gonna
Leave.
fuck up just for the fun of it now.
Yeah, or just be
Or
like
they might just leave.
they might just leave.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, I don't want this. I'm out. And they're in the right to do so. If you don't have fun.
Yeah, because you shouldn't do that stupid idea. What is
Oh
wrong
no,
with you
of
guys?
course not.
Reinforcement, that's
That's
a
why
good
it's-
idea because
that's
then
why
you're
it's based.
working towards a goal.
That's why it's based as fuck, bro.
So
Because it's
disappointing.
funny.
So Lucas, are you gonna start giving inspiration from now on?
Maybe. If you guys like that idea,
Mm.
if you guys
I-
can come
I
to a
actually-
good compromise.
I actually
do
like that
it.
idea. As in
Yeah.
the original idea, not our based versions of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
not the. No, I was thinking of the like everybody gets to vote whenever like I get disadvantage. No, just kidding. That's bad.
No.
Oh yeah,
think
I
it's,
like that even more. Just oh yeah, no, the DM gets disadvantages on all rolls next game. There's one level of
That's-
exhaustion.
That's
No,
kind
like one player gets like negative inspiration for the DM. Like that one player can decide to give the DM the disadvantage at one point.
but it's
That can be actually pretty broken.
It could be
Yeah.
it can be fun.
He has to. That enemy has to fill that saving throw. You have to have him fail.
Oh well,
It's
they
like,
have
okay, you get
disadvantage now.
Yeah, but the advantage one, that's a good thing because the communication goes up because you all have to decide together.
Yeah, you talk
Unless
about the
people
game. You talk
I
about
mean,
the game
yeah.
after the game, which is also a good part in player.
True.
In the
you
player
reflect
group.
on it.
You reflect on the game. You think about it. What happened? So it's, and while it's fresh in your mind, you reinforce that the good things about the game, so it stays longer. It stays fun for longer because you think better about the good things because you reinforce that in your mind after each game. Like,
The
Oh,
shopping
yeah.
episode.
well, but even with the
really-
Oh,
shopping,
I really like
episode-
how you spent all that money on healing potions for the entire party. You get it.
Well, maybe,
Or, you know.
maybe it can be a good moment because their character is really greedy, but this time they spend all their money to get healing
Only
potions for the
half.
party.
It's only half the party fun to get that one.
Oh no, they're personal funds.
No, we need healing potions, guys.
Yeah, but he bought it
I didn't spend that money for no reason.
not for just for me.
But I can believe that worked well. I think that's a good.
Well, unless the players all hate each other, it's like you don't get it. No, you don't get it, and then nobody.
Yeah, if
gets
it
But why-
devolves into that
why play-
conversation, that's
So, let me just then ask, why play together? If you
Well,
obviously
everybody
don't
should-
like each
like
other.
everybody should get a vote on somebody that's not them, and if they all vote in a circle, the DM gets it.
Oh, I like that one.
It's a blind vote.
No,
the
no.
prisoner's
I think
dilemma.
you need to have some discussion beforehand on why you think that person should get it.
I mean,
And then if still it's gonna be in a circle, then the DM deserves it because then you're just not listening to other players'
Or-
arguments.
or it can happen and that just everyone just has things that someone did really well and everyone has another different can happen.
And what if the DM did something awesome, like an amazing like reveal or something? Does he get it?
No, you get
No,
shit.
then he gets automatic disadvantage
You
for
get
thinking
shit
he can
on.
get an advantage that way.
Sad.
No, that's actually a good point. How do you, as a player, how do you
Bring snacks.
that is a little.
I
that's
assume your
that's a
question was
little.
going to be, how do you thank the DM?
Well, no, yeah. How do you thank the DM, but not like that, because it's really difficult
Oh.
to do that right now. Like if we
Oh,
were
right.
if we were in non-COVID times, yeah,
I'll
that could
just
work.
order a pizza from my home to Lucas's home, so
I mean,
I
yeah, that
always
works.
get advantage.
Well, no,
That's
that
just
won't-
bribing the DM.
Yeah.
Seems like pay to win game.
Yeah.
Pizza, obviously. Come on. Why else would I buy a pizza for Lucas?
I mean, I
I
don't know
mean-
how you would consistently thank the DM for doing a good game.
Fellatio.
I at one point decided I bought Max a mini at one point because I was like, your game is really good. Here you go, get a mini, because I know you would want to have a mini. So I was like, here you go. It was me and another player that were doing that. So, I don't know.
remember
I've
that.
never like consistently thanked the DM. I haven't played D&D that much.
Well, because if you no, I mean in that same discussion, because you can, if you give the other players advantage for doing something right, how do you praise the DM with something tangible that also translates in game? Because you can't
It was a
give.
good game.
I'll just give him the inspiration. I think that's fair. Like, so you can use it on on an enemy.
Yeah, if something in game was extra cool this time, then yeah, it should be possible to give the inspiration to the DM.
No.
Yes.
No, that
I'm
as
just-
a DM, I think that's a horrible idea.
Why?
Because you're the DM, you can give yourself advantage whenever you want, dude.
That's
What are these
very
You
fucking
can't
gonna
give
do?
that's
yourself for
very
no
fucking
reason.
true. Yeah, you can just give your.
Watch me.
There's
you can
there's
make
many
up a reason.
things. Oh wow. Okay, no, then you're just bad.
You can be
DM.
like, these guys have pack tech. Look at me go.
They all have advantage.
What I'm saying is the DM has a lot of control over these enemies, and
Yeah, that's why I'm asking it, because giving him advantage doesn't do much, because they can give themselves advantage if they want to. They can give themselves disadvantage if the player has a good reason. Even in roleplay, has a good reason. If a player has a good reason for something in roleplay to give disadvantage to me, or to give the NPC I'm playing disadvantage, I'm just also like this. Yeah, that's a good. I don't know where. Sorry about that.
Nice.
No,
Well-
the point is you have a lot of control over the game, so inspiration won't do anything. So how would you, except for thanking the DM and praising what he's done, how would you give it something tangible? Can't.
I'm not sure if you can.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way to do it. That's, you say it was a good game. You say what was good about the game, as you do also say what is bad about the game. That is how a game.
Preferably
is-
first compliment
how it
their
stays
eyes.
good. No,
Eyes look good, but your game
You
was
don't do
terrible.
Well, if the one particular game was just more fun and you want to show appreciation, you can indeed do that by, for example, order a pizza for your DM.
Oh, but that's money though. I think you should be able to thank your DM without having to spend money
yeah,
necessarily.
nobody should force you to spend money. That's not how that works.
That's just a one-time thing. Like you said, you bought
what
his
Taxman
you
does.
bought a mini for him, so you gave him
Taxman.
something. Like for once in a while, you can kind of do something like that, like just an extra thanks.
I mean, yeah, you could do that. You don't have to do that, but
Oh,
it's
indeed.
a nice gesture if you do it.
You know what? What would be the best thanks for DM? Now that I think
Bake
about it.
him a cake.
Hmm?
Why is
Bake
that?
him a cake.
No, well, I mean,
don't-
that was not the point I was
No,
getting
no.
at. I mean, that would work, but that was not what I was getting at. You know what? What the
Yeah.
best thing would be for to praise a DM. Play your characters and try to have fun with all of you. Just try to have fun as a. Just
No, that's
just
you're
invest
just saying
just
the
invest
best
in your game.
reward is the friends we made along the way. That's just stupid.
No,
Nobody cares.
just invest in the game and make the preparation
Show
of the
interest.
DM
I don't think
worthwhile.
that should be like the way you think. I think that it should be a normal thing that you do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
show
what
interest in the game.
that's what I meant. You should do that anyway.
No, like saying certain things were good or certain things were bad. Yeah, about a session. That's a way of doing it. That's a way of letting know you're A, invested, and A, liked it, or also didn't like it. Do both.
But should the DM do the same to the players, being like, "Oh, I really didn't like how you roleplayed that," or "I really didn't like how you killed that NPC that was so important to the story," or something like that?
If you layer it correctly.
I don't. You could do that. I don't think you could just talk as long as you're like talking about it that it's a game. That's bummer that happened. But good on you guys. You impressive work. Like unless it's like really murder hobo, then you should just tell them, well, guys, that was a little unnecessary and out of didn't really feel like the campaign we're playing. Do we want to switch things up? Because at the end of the day, if all the players are like murdering certain NPCs you didn't want them to murder, then maybe that's the kind of game you're playing.
That's again the game they want to.
Oh, but if that's the case, then the DM doesn't want to play that game. Then the DM shouldn't have to DM that game.
Oh yeah, of course. If he doesn't
can make the fun, yeah, sure. That he doesn't have to do it.
You don't have to. Even if you're the DM player, you don't have to do things if you don't want them. Communicate. If you clearly said at the start of the game, yeah, I want this to be a serious game where we play D&D. Just well, it has to be fun, but I want the serious under. And they start goofing around and just murdering everything. Then obviously they didn't listen to you. And if they agreed to that, then you don't have to. You can just say,
That's
yeah.
the same with players.
Yeah.
Don't go into a serious game playing Boblin the Goblin, the murder hobo.
I played Boblin the Goblin once as a warlock. It was pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Sorry, I might have been a little bit off topic.
It's fine. We're running over time. I feel like this is a good. Remember, it's just a game, and communicate things. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Those are good points to end. So I feel like that was we've run out of time for today. Let me just switch it to the end screen. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us today. This is your first time, right? Yeah, first time.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching. Follow our socials. They're on the screen down. Well, they're on the screen in front of you. Follow my Spotify. I've got new exciting stuff coming up this month, so be sure to check that out. My album is also on there. My Spotify, the link for my Linktree is in the description below. Check out our YouTube where we upload the streams. Every stream we do.
When we start doing them again, we're currently like preparing a new new game.
We're currently in between games, so it's gonna be mostly this podcast that's gonna be uploaded there.
Yeah.
But be sure to follow that if you want to.
Look out for my new character, Boblin the Goblin.
Yeah, be sure to check that out if you want to. Follow us on Twitch as well. If you're watching us here, do it. We're over the 100 followers, so that's fun. That's really cool. Those stream times they don't really make sense anymore because the Unravel D&D campaign is like we said in between
on pause. Basically.
In between games. The schedule is down below as well, so check that out if you want to. Charlie's ad is not there. She
runs the Unravel D&D.
Thank you. Runs the I'm stumbling over
Unravel Instagram.
Runs the Unravel Instagram. Follow also Murph Magical Merchandise on Instagram, which is Lucas's which is Lucas's thing. That is
It's where you
been-
find all the magic items that are in my games.
where you find
and
all the
additional.
magic items. Yeah. So, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next Wednesday with the podcast. Yeah, like we said, check out the streaming schedule below, and we will announce when the new campaign begins for Unravel. So, take care, have a good day, and remember, keep having fun.